It is going to be that Hunter here. This is game 2 here of the PvP Live Tavern Takeover. Gnimsh already up a game here, playing that hand lock, and he's going to be going up against Hyped, who does decide to mulligan that Timberwolf. He's sitting with the Leper Gnome and the Abusive Sergeant. Pretty nice start here, and it looks like Gnimsh is going to want to hold on to that Sunfury Protector, maybe looking to draw into an early Ancient Watcher or something like that.
I'm actually really surprised he chooses to mulligan Molten Giant here. Because I think one of the ways that you win against this matchup is when they put you into the danger zone a little bit too quickly and you're able to drop the Molten Giant and then, again, Sunfury Protected up, or just use the Molten Giant as an 8/8. So when he does something like that, it's showing a lot of respect for the game that he gives to Hyped, because he knows that Hyped isn't going to put him too low unless he has to. So he's relying on drawing the Molten Giants later, and you're looking, he wants to have a more aggressive start here. This is one of the goals you want to have against Hunter as well, is you want to pick apart their board with cards like Mortal Coil, these Ironbeak Owls onto Leper Gnomes, and Sunfury Protector. You just use them as cheap removal spells early in the game to help stem the damage and keep your life total afloat, and then you want to look towards using cards like Twilight Drake, and again, these 2 copies of Sunwalker he has, which are pretty critical in this matchup, I would say, to be able to push through the damage he needs, as well as able to shore up his defense.
Yep, for sure. Definitely makes a lot of sense here. I mean, he's obviously sitting here thinking a little bit. Does he want to use the Abusive Sergeant to take out that defender, or is he just going to be able to just go face? You know, obviously, if the hero power as well, he is considering his options here. It looks like he's going to decide to no, he's just going to actually use that. Just going to go face with it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really think there's much decision to be had here.
Okay.
He can use the hero power, but again, the Sunfury Protector is threatening his board position, and as much as you don't want to admit it, the 2 damage does start to add up against Hunter as well. Because one of the ways that he loses, as you saw last game, is just huge burst potential from Leroy Jenkins. So he wants to be avoiding that at the same time, as well as putting in a couple extra points of damage. So he gets a double benefit from playing this Abusive Sergeant, where it's likely that it won't have too big of an impact later on, simply because you're going to be looking at a lot of taunts that he has to push through. And he doesn't want to push through with damage. He wants to push through with cards like Hunter's Mark.
Interesting. So, you know, what do you think is the big advantage to using that Abusive Sergeant going face instead of just using the Abusive Sergeant to trade with that Sunfury Protector, you know, using that +2 damage to be able to take that off the board right away, so we can't just have that kind of free trade?
Right, well, damage is going to be the name of the game as far as Hunter is concerned, so it needs to be dealing as much damage as it can. You see a lot of players who are unfamiliar with aggro decks, or perhaps uncomfortable with them, they tend to trade a little bit too much. This Hunter's Mark gives him a lot of leverage here, so he needs to be kind of reckless in terms of how he chooses to play his cards. And again, that's shown here. He's foregoing an opportunity cost on his hero power in order to develop this damage right now.
Yeah, and I mean, the Warlock already turned 3 here, 17 HP, so you can see it's really starting to add up. And you have to consider he still does have the 2 damage from the Abusive Sergeant on the board, 3 from his bow, plus, you know, Steady Shot, already a lot of damage potential being built up here. We see the Molten Giant coming out, though, as well as, you know, that Mountain Giant in hand. So, you know, Gnimsh has some pretty powerful cards here. Yeah, do you think he's just going to go with a Farseer here? Perhaps heal up a little bit? I mean, you have to start getting a little bit nervous at these kind of life totals.
Well, things he's thinking about right now is whether or not he should heal his Sunfury Protector,
trade,
or whether or not he should heal his own life total. So what this comes down to is how much he values this extra 2 damage sitting on this Sunfury Protector, as well as perhaps the potential to actually Shadow Flame it away, or even just to have another taunt sitting behind what you see here as a second Sunfury Protector. The ability for it to absorb extra damage is important, and that's what he's weighing right now. This is actually a pretty tough turn 3, because even though he only has 2 real options here, his options take such different paths in terms of how he wants to approach the game. That being said, I would tend to prefer to heal myself in order to hedge your bets against a card like Unleash the Hounds.
Yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense, I think, and I think that is the play that is kind of the safer of the 2. So we are just going to see Steady Shot turn ended as well. There's that Sunwalker coming out here. Now, I mean, it looks like he's just thinking about getting that second Sunfury Protector out, perhaps. But, nope, he's just actually going to enter and not going to tap. Wants to keep that life total high, and he wants to hold on to that. So, we are seeing the Explosive Trap getting drawn out to Hunter's Mark, Starving Buzzard. Really not much of a play here just yet. I mean, he may want to put out the Explosive Trap just to be able to get that extra charge on the bow.
Right.
And, I mean, do you think that there's any scenario where you kind of just hold on to the Explosive Trap for later to kind of maybe get some more value out of it? Or do you just think you need to get that out, get more damage, get the extra charge from the Secret on your bow, and just continue to hammer that damage home? Because he's already at 18 HP. How much lower do you really want to put him?
Right. I think one of the things he was considering here, actually, as crazy as it may sound, is I think he's actually considering Leroy Jenkins that turn. And one of the major reasons he's considering it is because he has this Explosive Trap that he's just drawn. But Gnimsh, on the other side of the board, playing this really well. He didn't play his big game Hunter last turn, even though it's pretty much useless in this matchup, because he wants to play around a card
Ooh,
like Explosive Trap. So
Yeah.
he actually doesn't even attack here. And part of the reason he's not attacking again is because he doesn't want to give them this extra charge right away. He wants to taunt this Mountain Giant first, so that way the extra charge is kind of nullified by the fact that he's not using that damage on his face. So when that happens, a lot of reads start taking place here. Hyped has two major directions he can take. One of them right now is he can go ahead and attack with this bow and sacrifice the idea that he's going to get the charge from this, because this Mountain Giant kind of tells him, I intend to taunt this up before you get to attack with your bow. But at the same time, he's got these two Hunter's Marks. So he's thinking about this Leroy damage. Should I use this now to get into 6 damage before I can't do it anymore and taunt it up? But at the same time, he wants to hold it for Unleash the Hound. So his hand has a lot of options, but his options are not really this turn kind of options. It's like, how valuable do I need to hold these cards? Because now he's also looking at, do I want to Hunter's Mark this Mountain Giant? But it's tough to Hunter's Mark it, because if he Iron Beaks Owl it, it's going to go back to 8 health, and you've effectively wasted it.
Yep, and he is going to decide to go into Leroy. He wants to get him low, knowing he has the kill command in hand. And he is going to actually decide to Hunter's Mark that up, and then he's going to go face with the bow. Already 5 HP, and he has that kill command in hand. Plus, he has an activator with the Buzzard. So, I mean, potentially can kill his opponent this next turn.
Yeah, this play is, again, sort of a mark of what Hunter does to this deck. Warlock is a deck that its life total is fragile. In these earlier stages of the game, you don't have access to stuff like Jiraxis or Alexstrasza. Hyped is comfortable knowing that he doesn't have mana to that, even though we can look at his list and tell he doesn't have those cards. It's going to want it to pressure through. So this Sunwalker isn't protecting him.
I just don't see there's no out.
Yeah, there's no. Right now, he would have to draw into a heal and be able to taunt up. And frankly, that's just not going to happen.
But even
because
still,
you have
he has the hero power, plus he has the 5 damage kill command. That's already 7 damage. And he would have to life tap to be able to draw into something here. So there's no real way. I think this is game. He obviously doesn't know what's in hand, so he's trying to decide the best possible scenario here. And knowing that it's an Explosive Trap because of the Hunter's Mark, he's thinking about, he's just going to decide to do that.
This is the desperation position he ends up getting put in because of how aggressive Hyped's play was here. So recognizing it at the most timely point possible, very big credit to Hyped here. Again, this is a very good matchup for Hyped. No questions about that. But he's also played this, what it looks to be 100% so far. Gnimsh has probably played it 100% so far as well, but again, this is just one of those matchups where the handlock struggles the entire game to try to get anything done.
Yeah, and I mean, he is going to throw down that Sunwalker. What else can you really do here? He doesn't know it yet, but that is going to be game as he ends the turn. He calls the well played. He does know it. and I take it back. And the kill command going to come out. That's going to finish it off. And we are now tied. A Hype going to strike back here in game 2.
Yep, big Hunter Hype here coming out again. Testament to his choices in this tournament. Understanding his image, how his opponents are going to play against that image, and then what he's done with that deck building to try to give himself an